Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank Congressman Latta for leading this special hour tonight on a very important topic to our nation. When I go back home to my home state in Oklahoma, almost every weekend I hear a couple of things from my constituents back home. First of all, they are very concerned about our economy. They want to know that they will be able to keep their jobs, be able to have a salary, make their house payment, pay their bills, take care of their families, and they want to know their taxes are going to be kept low. They want us here in Washington, D.C., Bob, to Congressman Latta, to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. And the second thing I hear back home in Oklahoma is that people talk a lot about expenses and about the cost of living going up and how concerned they are with all the spending going on here in Washington, D.C., about their costs to their families and their costs to their businesses. Many of them say to me, please don't let our gas prices go up like they did last summer to $4 a gallon. We can't afford that anymore for either our families or even our businesses. And they say, please don't let my utility costs go up. We're hearing with cap and trade, cap and tax, that our utility costs could go up by 30%, and I'm on a fixed income, or I am a lower income person and I can't take a 30% increase in my utility costs. They say things like, please don't let my businesses have more operating costs, or please don't raise my gasoline prices because I won't be able to take my kids to school as freely as I have been able to. And so as we begin and have this debate about the cap and trade, controlling carbon emissions, and about what we call the cap and tax, I feel like that the Democrat National Energy Tax would harm all these things that people are concerned about. Experts estimate that cap and trade, cap and tax, as I said, would raise utility costs and would raise costs on families to an estimated cost increase of around $3,100 per family. A recent report by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers says that the new energy tax would also cost the United States 3.2 million jobs at a time when we already have a high unemployment rate throughout our nation. And this means that the future of manufacturing, the future of jobs in our nation would be at stake, and especially at a time when we cannot afford as a nation to make the wrong policy decision that could further hurt our national economy. Strong manufacturing base is very vital to our economy, and our security as a nation depends upon us having a strong manufacturing base and a strong economy. Many of us believe that we are losing ground to other foreign countries when it comes to competing for product production and also for market share. I saw a recent report by the Industrial Energy Consumers of America, and they said that from 2000 to 2008, imports were up 29%, and manufacturing employment fell 22%, a loss of 3.8 million high-paying jobs. And they said of great concern is that manufacturing investment in the United States as a percent of GDP has been on the decline since the late 1990s. Two-thirds of our world's population pollution comes from other countries who won't be under a cap and trade type piece of legislation. Two-thirds of the pollution in our world. But yet here in the United States, we're talking about a plan that would affect our business sector because of the climate control legislation. Now, we all want to do all that we can to keep our air clean, our land clean, our water clean. That's a very important goal for all of us, but not at the risk of risking our national security or even our national economy. We know that the Democrat solution is an energy tax, and we know it won't work. The United States might cap and tax its carbon emissions, but countries like China and India would never agree to restrictions that are so economically destructive. And the result would be for the United States more outsourcing of good jobs to other countries at the worst possible time when, as I said, unemployment is at 9%. Cap and trade is nothing more than a national energy tax, and its effects will be far-reaching to businesses, consumers, and even more so to rural America. Rural areas will be hit hardest by energy taxes. Americans in rural areas must travel further for routine errands. In fact, about 25% more miles than urban households, according to a recent Federal Highway data study. Higher gasoline prices may not be the end of the world if you're taking a subway in in a major metropolitan city like here in Washington, D.C., but they are a big deal. Higher gasoline prices are a big deal in small towns like I grew up in Tecumseh, Oklahoma, especially when you have to commute long distances to work. The numbers back that up. Rural households spend 58% more on fuel than urban residents as a percentage of their income. And then you look at another important industry in rural America, and that is agriculture. And agriculture is a bullseye industry for an energy tax because it's energy intensive, whether it's the fuel for a tractor or fertilizer for the crops or delivery of food to a local grocery store. Agriculture uses a great deal of energy production. Small businesses and American jobs are also a target of the cap and tax system. A recent report from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers and other business groups states that President Obama's budget proposal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions would result in a net loss of jobs in our economy of 3.2 million and would shrink our household purchasing power by $2,100. Now, while protecting our environment is a worthwhile effort, and we're all for that, I cannot support legislation that does nothing but levy taxes on small business, on rural America, on families, and on those who are in limited resources, and raises just higher energy taxes. If we want a real solution to climate change, then we should focus on incentives. We should focus on innovation and research and letting the free market system work. And yes, Republicans do have a plan that would support energy production, also support clean energy, and all of the above energy plan. We support production of clean natural gas, of wind power, of solar power, of nuclear power, as well as the traditional fossil fuels. We as Republicans have our eye on the future, and we know that the United States doesn't have an unlimited reserve of fossil fuels, and we understand we need to pursue other energy sources and energy diversity. But Republicans also understand that we can't get there overnight by pursuing a series of damaging tax increases. And Congressman Latta, I will yield back my time for further discussion on this issue.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You brought some very good points, especially